Okay, it is recording now.
Welcome to our first Hunt County 4-H Project Spotlight. I'm Sarah Allen, County Extension Agent in Hunt County, and I welcome our speaker tonight, Sarah Latham, who is the County Extension Agent for Family and Community Health in Rains County. And tonight our goal is to cover information regarding the Food and Nutrition Project and all the resources and contests and events that are connected with the Food and Nutrition Project. So Sarah, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be able to talk to people in Hunt County again. I'm a Hunt County person, so many of you might remember me, and so I'm excited to be here. So the Food and Nutrition Project, this is just an overview. Let me go on. An overview of the general basics of the project. So we'll kind of give a little introduction to myself, and then we'll go over the overview of the project, and then I'll kind of go into each individual contests. And then at the end, we'll kind of go over some resources and have questions. I left that off the little agenda. But so my name is Sarah Latham, and I was the Hunt County FCH agent for right at about 5 years, and I transferred over to Rains about 1.5 years ago. So I like still being next door and being able to come visit. So let's see. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button to change the screen. So the Food and Nutrition Project is geared towards helping youth, prepare them to understand nutrition on a deeper level, helps you develop a healthy relationship with the food you eat, and a little bit deeper understanding of maybe where it comes from, what's in it, serving sizes, nutritional value, things that can benefit you, but then also learning about those different foods and the things that are in them can help you pick foods that are healthy and know which foods are unhealthy. A lot of times we think we're eating something that's healthy and turns out that it's not, or it may not be right for what we need in our own daily lives for ourselves. You know, each person needs something different. If you're an athlete, you may need something different than someone that's not an athlete. And so it just depends, and age plays into it. And also sex, male, female, plays into it. So there's a lot of things that play into it, but you can learn that through this project. And so really the goals set out by Texas 4-H are that the participants in this project will learn how to make healthy food choices. They'll learn how nutrition affects our health, how food and kitchen safety, which is a really important one, which also kind of overlaps into health, and then also healthy meal and snack preparation. So sometimes you're not really sure how everyone thinks about nutrition as affecting your health in a good way, but long-term effects, you know, over time, eating bad things can turn into chronic diseases that you have. And so preventing those, learning about those diseases and preventing those is one of the goals of this. Because, you know, we would try to start instilling healthy ideas into youth so that they will continue to maintain that across their life. So the official Texas 4-H blurb. In the Food and Nutrition Project, you'll learn kitchen and cooking safety, how to prepare nutritious meals and snacks, and meal ideas to reduce your risk of disease. Learning experiences focus on nutrition, food purchasing, food preparation, food safety, and related careers. So that's your official from Texas 4-H over this project. And the Food and Nutrition Project really is, it encompasses a lot of food, and you can branch out from just what we're talking about today. But you'll notice that if kids that are in this project are more involved in cooking at home, it's exciting. Once you kind of understand the basics of cooking and food, the basics of using knives, and the basics of what you need to combine, and healthy foods versus non-healthy foods, you really can have a little bit of excitement in the kitchen. So it makes it a fun time for everyone. You can kind of make it a family event. So the various food and nutrition contests that Texas 4-H offers, and we do offer these on district and county levels for the most part. The food show, food challenge, the FCH quiz bowl, and then the healthy lifestyles invitational. And I have a little asterisk out by that, and we'll get to it. That is a project contest that is being developed but we'll talk about that when we get to that one. So, and Sarah, tell me if I'm moving through too fast or too slow.
You're good.
So the first one that we'll go over is Food Show. And Food Show is a very, very good project for an intro project for someone just getting into this project area. This is an individual contest where you choose a recipe from the categories that are listed from the down below. You prepare it and you present it to the panel of judges with a pre-prepared speech. So the categories in Food Show are appetizer, main dish, side dish, and healthy dessert. And those are the 4 categories. And back in 2019, we got word they were going to do some changes to Food Show. And so in 2020, Texas 4-H came out with 2 new components for this contest. So the preparation and presentation kind of have always been in the project. The new items are the skills showcase and the knowledge showcase. We'll go into these in depth in just a little bit, but the skills showcase is kind of where they ask you to actually show them a skill. We use knife skills as a example often, but there are other measuring foods, things like that. Knowledge showcase is a paper quiz. And so it's a 10-question quiz. It's not difficult, but it does kind of have a variety of questions on it from the resources that we'll touch on throughout this presentation. But the preparation and the presentation portions of the contest remain the same as they have been in previous years, if anyone has been in this contest before.
Now, Sarah, question.
Yes.
At the county level, if we have a county food show, do we have to incorporate the skills and the knowledge into the county food show as well?
That's one that we've kind of juggled over. For the intermediate and senior level 4-Hers, I would say you would at least want to introduce them to it, because when they get to, because they are going to be doing that at the district contests and for sure at the state contests. For the junior kids, it's a lot, and we are eventually going to put that in at a district level, but this during COVID and everything, we just haven't, just because it's just too much. But eventually it will be part of the contest at the district level. And so maybe easing your way into it at a county level might be the way to go, or even just doing it separately, not necessarily with but just so they have an idea of what they could be asked during those portions. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And this year was kind of a interesting one for all of us, because we knew the rules, we knew the changes, we could read the description, but until you see it, it doesn't really click, or I guess maybe because I'm a visual person, it didn't really click in my head exactly what it was going to be until I actually was there at the contest and watching it happen. So the preparation part of Food Show, the participant is able to pick whatever recipe they like, as long as they can make it fit into those categories. And a lot of kids pick a recipe that's an unhealthy recipe and kind of change it up, make it a healthy recipe, and then they're able to incorporate that into their presentation to let the judges know that they made healthy choices in modifying their recipe. And I do always recommend to people that pick a recipe that you actually enjoy cooking and enjoy eating, because when you're doing your presentation to your judges, that's one of those things that kind of comes across to the judges, whether or not you actually enjoyed yourself while you were doing this. And so if they can tell that you were, upbeat and excited to do this, it goes a long ways to the judges. So that's a tip that I always tell kids. I'll use an example. I had a little boy this past year, and he had 2 recipes that he couldn't choose between. One of them was just a green bean recipe, and the other one was I don't even remember what it was, something very detailed. And he was going to go with the detailed one because he thought that the judges would be more impressed by it. And when we got to talking about it, he just kept going back to those green beans. So finally, I just was like, you know what? Just do the green bean recipe. And ended up, he got first place at county and at district, just because he was able to, the excitement over, I know, green beans, but he really loved this recipe. He loved this green bean recipe. He loved making it. He loved eating it. And it came across to the judges. So while you're doing your preparation for this, make sure you really take into consideration the recipe that you choose. At county and district contests, for the most part, judges will not taste the food, but you want to cook it as if they were going to. So you want to make sure that you're using food safety at home. You're not cross-contaminating things. You need to follow all of the guidelines of cooking so that and incorporate those steps into your presentation to kind of give the judges a full idea that you understand the concepts of cooking, but then also the behind the scenes of keeping everything clean and safe. And also, if possible, make your dish the day of the contest, just because it will look fresh. And the closer you can to the contest, the better. It's hard for these district contests. And if you're a senior, just be prepared that if you advance to state, you will actually prepare your food at the state contest. You have I think it's a 75-minute window. They go in shifts. It's kind of like staggered out throughout the day to get everyone in. But if you're a senior, or if you're an intermediate or junior planning on staying in this project until you get to a senior level, you're going to need to make sure that you are the one preparing the dish. Don't fall back on mom and dad or big brother, big sister to do it. You need to be able to do it, because if you advance to that state contest at your senior level, you will have to do it without any assistance at the state contest. But
I want to reiterate, you've got that 75 minutes to do it. So your recipe couldn't have anything that needs to be chilled for 3 hours, or
right.
that,
yes.
You got to make it fit in that time.
That's a very good point, because so all of this kind of goes in, and really, for the most part, for the juniors and the intermediates, that's not that big of a deal, but it is something that you just want to take into consideration, because you're going to have to make that item from several times. And if it's a really in-depth process to making this recipe, you may want to choose something that's not quite so difficult. Okay, so the next section is your presentation. And so in Food Show, this is really the contest. The presentation is your contest. You show up, you sit in a room, and you wait for the judges to call your name, and then you go and you present. So you are given a 5 minutes presentation time, and then the judges have 4 minutes to ask questions, and it's basically kind of a 4-minute interview that they have. Best thing that I can say on presentation is, if you can include everything that they are looking for in your speech to them, they're not going to have much to ask questions over. And the questions will be much easier than if you leave it out of your speech. So I highly recommend, once you've made your speech for your presentation on your recipe, send it to your agent, send it to your county agent, have them look over it, make sure that they can look at it and see, oh, why don't you add this in or take this out? You don't really need that. They can help you and make sure that it stays under 5 minutes. But your county agent will know what the judges look for the most part. And so you'll need to include information on how you prepared it, actually the steps of what you did to make the dish. You'll kind of detail it out just like a recipe card would. You just kind of say those things back to the judges. Then you'll want to go over just the basic nutrients and ingredients and nutrients and health aspects in the recipe. If you have something that has a lot of fruit and oranges in it, you could mention that it has high vitamin C. Vitamin C is good for immunity support, those type of things. So the more detailed information that you give in your presentation, the better for the judges, but then also better for you, because again, there's not as much time or information that they could ask you over. Personal dietary needs, you can, so dietary needs vary across the lifespan and from male to female. So if this is made for, if you're making this for a specific group, can kind of include that. And again, I mentioned the healthy substitutions earlier. If you make any substitutions to your dish, and this is a key point, healthy substitutions to a judge, if you can point that out, that you made a healthy, if your recipe calls for, I don't know, 2 sticks of butter, and you switch over part of that to something healthier, then include that in your presentation so the judges know that you're aware of, hey, this is a healthier option, and they took the time to convert the recipe, edit it, try it, and then they're just trying to do it healthier decisions. And so, the goal of family and community health in general is basically the health. We're moving much more towards a health aspect. So the more you can incorporate those healthy options into your contests, the better it is. That it'll catch that judge's ear very quickly and help you kind of scoot on up. Let's see. And just, include any information that shows your excitement for the dish, for cooking, for the project, that really comes across to the judges. The presentation time is where you get to just show your personality.
It's okay to like tell a story about the dish or how you found a recipe or?
Yes, and really anything that can make you memorable to the judges will help you in the end. And as long as you keep it under 5 minutes, you can put anything you want in there. And I don't know the last time anyone tried to talk for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a really long time to talk, especially if you talk fast like I do. It's hard to fill up 5 minutes. So including those little personal details is really, it's a good, the judges will remember you. Okay.
One more question on that.
Sure.
Can the kids can they take note cards in, or does it need to be memorized?
So juniors can absolutely take in note cards. Intermediates, the judges, it is allowed in the rules. Judges are aware of it, and they are leaning towards wanting someone that is in the intermediate age group to be able to memorize that. Seniors are not allowed to have note cards. So you have to have it memorized as a senior. So what a lot of people that are in this project do, if you start out with it young, they'll pick a recipe. And I know a lot of kids have had that exact same recipe from the time they were in the 3rd grade till the time they were a senior in high school. They've studied the recipe. They really, really know it by heart. You may be really tired of it by the time you're a senior, but you know it. And so each year that presentation gets a little bit easier. You can add to it each year and you can grow on it, and you're not having to learn something new every single time. So it really does, that's also a good trick. And you may want to cook 2 or 3 things. There was one time, when I was back in Hunt County, we had a kid and he couldn't decide also which dish. So we had him prepare both of them and present both of them to us. And then we allowed, because we were just letting him show us what he was doing. We were like, oh, well, this one definitely is the recipe that you shine on. And so that's the one he went with. And he advanced to state also. So it's the more passion you have for the dish, the more you're going to stand out to the judges. Okay, let's see here. The next part. So we'll get into this skills showcase. So the skills showcase is basically asking contestants to show the judges what they have learned physically, hands-on in this project. At the state level this past year, the Texas Food Show asked contestants to, I believe it was a carrot, and they were asked to cut it julienne style. So if you didn't know what that was, then you were kind of out of luck. But it was, that's just one part of your scorecard. But it is something that your food nutrition coaches want to be aware of, is the different types of cuts that you can have. And so the knife skills are really important, because it's a good thing to learn from safety. But then also you use knife skills very, very often. Once you really spend a lot of time in the kitchen. We've had I was trying to think of some other examples, because we always use knife skills, and that's the one that the state office uses. And so that's the one I kind of think they're going to use at the state level for a few years until they run out of different knife skills styles, knife cutting styles. But if any of you have questions and you would like to know other examples, I can't think of any right now off the top of my head, but I'll put my email address at the end of this, or you can get it from anyone at the Hunt County office, and I'll be happy to send you some additional examples, but I'm blanking right now on other ones. So this is kind of a separate skill, and this one is being incorporated into the district contest this year. This past year, just because we were really kind of skirting through with COVID and everything, we were trying to cut back and not make things as difficult for the kids. The skills showcase and the next knowledge showcase, we are incorporating that. And I believe we're reaching it down to intermediates this year, and possibly one of those to juniors, but I'll know a little bit closer to that once we get closer to time and how everything's going.
And another skill you mentioned a while ago might be measuring. So I guess it could be measuring dry ingredients or measuring liquid ingredients.
Yes.
Or
and that's a good one to start with the younger kids, learning those things that you just absolutely need every time you're in the kitchen. And then the last part of this, the knowledge showcase, which is an actual physical Scantron test that you fill in the bubbles. They are broad questions. They can be over anything really in the food and nutrition project, but for the most part, the people developing these questions are going to ask your basics. What's food, food temperature? What's the danger zone? I believe it's 141 to 41 to 135, the danger zone of that. Or, like I mentioned earlier, what is vitamin C good for? Trying to think of some other questions. So they're just basic questions that you're going to learn throughout this project. And I don't know if y'all, this can be done as a group project where multiple members get together and work on this with a leader, or this is a really good individual project also. And if you are doing it as either way, if you're doing it as a group or an individual, there are 2 or 3 explorer guides that Texas 4-H has put out on the Texas 4-H website under the project area. And those explorer guides, they're packets of 6 different lessons, and they walk you through very, very detailed. They're about 30-minute lessons, and they're amazing. So if you have not used the explorer guides, I highly, highly recommend just going online and looking at them, because if you're especially if you're a project leader, it basically lays it out for you what you have for six lessons, and then if you want to do some more, you pull out the next explorer guide. So it's a really great handy tool, and the majority of the things they ask are going to be in both the skills showcase and the knowledge showcase are going to be covered in those explorer guides, because they're promoting those explorer guides. So do we have any questions about food show? Oh, the theme this year, sorry. The theme for the 2022 food show is backyard barbecue. And so what they're looking for this year is for you to take your favorite barbecue dish or side dish or dessert and turn that into something that you truly have passion for and love. And you can play around with it, change it up, and this is a lot of times where the presentation, where actually your setup for your presentation comes in. Barbecues, what are you thinking of? You think of like red and white checkered napkins. So you can really make your presentation, your tray, really cute with different little barbecue-y summertime outdoor cooking. I know it says the only time, it's not just for summer, but you can really add to that. And that helps with the judges also. If you have a really cute setup tray for your dish with an identical dish with just a plain tray, the judges are going to go for that cute set up one, just because it's more appealing to the eye and it just looks better. So keep that in mind when you're setting it up for your show.
Okay, so get a little deeper into that. What all can you put? It can be it's just a serving plate, or can it be a tray with different stuff?
So I've had kids do both. Some kids are just comfortable carrying out a plate with one serving on it, because that's another thing. So you only present a serving to them. You don't actually take the entire cake out to them or whatever it is that you cook. You just take a serving for one serving size. So I had some kids that are just comfortable carrying a plate, so they carry their plate and that's it. Some kids have a tray with a plate, with a charger underneath it, with a napkin, with maybe a vase of flowers, and so some kids go all out. But those are things that you have to consider when you're putting this together. If you have a vase of flowers, you're going to need to make sure that vase of flowers is sturdy, because it just leads to one more thing that you can knock off there as you're trying to walk to the event, because you are the one that carries this dish from the waiting room to the judges area. But yeah, you can go. I mean, I wouldn't put too much on there so that it gets in the way of the food, but anything that kind of adds to it to kind of give it a little bit of to fit in with the theme is acceptable. So any other questions on, I don't think I have any other food show. Yeah. Any other food show questions that you can think of? And again, if something comes up, until someone gets in the office, in the Hunt County office, more than welcome to reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Okay, so moving on to food challenge. This food challenge was kind of and I know we have some food challenge teams in Hunt County. So there are some groups that are very familiar with this contest, but then for a lot, we're unsure of what it is. It is a team event made up of 4 4-H members, and you can have 3, but 4 is the general number, where you create a dish using the ingredients you're given in a bag. You enter the room, you get a bag, and you get to make something from that. So if any of you have watched the Chopped television show, it is very similar to Chopped, except it is a team event. This is a fun event. It goes by really fast. I think it's one of those things that's stressful, but the kids love it. Kids love doing this. It's a really great team building contest as well as a learning contest. So they have 40, once you get into the room, you have 40 minutes to create your dish. And then you have a preparation time where you prep it, and you create your dish, you make up your presentation notes, and then you also have to clean up in that 40 minutes. And you're given warnings. So like the 10-minute warning, you're given this time, 5 and 1. So they give you plenty of time. I think I go into this a little bit more. Yeah, here we are. And so the teams, teams are signed in randomly, and they are randomly assigned to one of 4 categories, which are the same as in food show. So appetizer, main dish, side dish, and healthy dessert. So going into food challenge, you don't necessarily know which category you're going to be in, and the ingredients are a mystery. But there is a pantry. You carry in your supply box, and I've got the list of supplies. Each team is allowed to carry the supply box, and I believe Hunt County has a fully stocked supply box still. Is that correct, Sarah, Danielle?
Sorry, I had to unmute. Yeah,
Sorry,
yes,
okay.
Yes, we do.
And so if there's someone that's interested in it and just kind of wants to see, you could probably go up and just look at that supply box. And if you're a new group trying to get into this, I know that there's a food challenge project, so they can either help you, or you may be able to check out the box, but that box can help you. And so that box is huge, and I do recommend getting a box with wheels on at least one side, because adults are not allowed to enter the contest room. So once you get in and check in, that supply box has to be moved by the youth. So the small kids would really benefit from something with a wheels on it. Let me go back, because I think I skipped a few things in. And so this event, the teams can wear coordinating outfits, and I put a picture up here just to kind of show you. The kids all look absolutely, it makes it just really fun. They have coordinating outfits. They have adorable names. I think we have some that are, Chop It Like It's Hot, the Sizzling Sisters. There are some, they just get really creative with the naming. So that's a lot of fun. And I think kids kind of tie to it. It makes it really a team event and team building. And this was new with, I believe, 2020. So in addition to the kitchen supplies and the utensils that are in your supply box, each group was allowed to bring in these pantry items. And it's optional. You do not have to have it, but they're giving it to you just because these are items that are very, very commonly used in a lot of recipes, or you can make something out of them. If you're given a weird tofu, you can come up, you can maybe come up with something, tofu pasta. But so the supply box, and I know this is small and kind of hard to see, but this can be found in the Food Challenge Manual online on the Texas 4-H website. It details it out, what exactly you can have. And you do want to be very careful that you don't put in something that is not on this list, because at the district and state levels, this box is checked. So there are judges as you enter the contest room that are checking these boxes to make sure that you don't have multiple items or items that are not approved on this list. So that's kind of one of those things that you kind of want to go over when you get into it. Oh, so are there any questions on food Oh, I don't think I think I skipped something. Food challenge. So you have your 40-minute prep time, and then you have your presentation. And so in the prep time, I mentioned that you have to prepare your speech and clean up. Well, that speech part is very similar to the food show presentation that you do for food show, but this time it's the group, and the judges are looking for all of the same information from food show, the recipe, the steps of the recipe, the nutrition aspects, the cost analysis. And I'm not sure that I mentioned cost with food show. So you do want to know, if possible, how much one serving would cost for that recipe. And at Food Challenge, you are given the resources. You are given the receipt of everything that you use, so you know how much it's going to cost. If that makes sense. And if you have questions about that, you can contact the Food Challenge project leader, because they've been doing it for several years, and they can kind of help walk you through it, because until you've gone through it, it's kind of hard to wrap your brain around. But Food Challenge is a really fun event. Kids absolutely love it. The judges, again, do not taste the food. So it's, they're not checking to see if you cooked your chicken to the proper temperature, and, you're not going to get anyone sick. And it is a chance for kids to really show off their creative side in cooking.
I didn't hear you say it, but did you mention they also name their team before they go?
Yes. So the team names are really, because I'm the actual contest chair for the district contest of the Food Challenge, and every year I'm amazed at some of the names. They tie them into food. They tie them into some sort of cooking. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Okay, and so the next one is the FCH Quiz Bowl, the next contest. So what the Quiz Bowl is it takes all of the information that you should have learned over your course as a participant in this project, and it takes it into a game show type setting. It's a 4-person team. You're up against another 4-person team. You have a set of buzzers, and I believe Hunt County has a set of buzzers that you can check out if you're trying to do this. I have to say, this is probably my favorite contest of all, but that's because I'm a trivia junkie, and I love like Jeopardy and stuff. So this is my absolute favorite. I love working on this contest. And you just, you buzz in and you answer the questions, and it's just a lot of fun. And so the information, so if you are a Food Challenge team, or if you've a food show and you've got some friends, you already know the information that you need to know for FCH Quiz Bowl. You may, why not put together a Quiz Bowl team and participate in the Quiz Bowl, because you're not having to do any extra work. It's great. It's just, I don't know if you can tell, but I just really like this one a lot. And so it's broken down. They advance in a tournament style bracket system until everyone except for one team is eliminated. Is
that the age divisions in that? I just want to clarify. It's just junior and senior, correct? Or is there an intermediate, or do you know? I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot with that question.
Yeah, now then that one, because it's been several years since we've actually had enough teams to make this contest. I believe you're correct. I believe it is just senior and junior, but I will double check on that and let you know.
Okay.
Because it is a really fun one. It's just fun, and it doesn't last very long. It's an easy one. I mean, it lasts if you're advancing, but it's fun.
And that answer will be in the resources. So,
yes. And if you go to the food and nutrition page, the project page on the Texas 4-H website, there are so many resources. I mean, it's honestly, in one way, a little overwhelming, but in the other sense, there's just a plethora of information for you to look through and pull from, and any of it is just great. Just go through it and see what works for you and what doesn't. Okay, and so the last contest that I want to just touch on is the Healthy Lifestyles Invitational. So we're going to attempt to, if everything holds to where we can still have contests for Roundup, we're going to try to have a trial of one like this at Roundup. So I worked this contest this previous year at the state 4-H roundup down in College Station. And I know that they have, it's very similar to like the I believe it's called the Ag ID contest, where items are laid out on a table and the participants have to go through and identify what they are. And so this past year it was, like there were some bags of cayenne pepper or little ingredients that you could, crushed red pepper, things that you were visually could tell what it was. And then there were spatulas and food processors and all just different types of anything that you could find in the kitchen basically was on the tables. And it was 4 tables, and you went around and you individually, you answered those. You picked out what those were, and it was on I believe it was the items on the table were numbered, and you matched them up with an item on your piece of paper. And then the second part of that is the youths are grouped. If you have a county group, you're grouped together, and you're given a scenario. And I believe this past year, the scenario was you had to discuss e-cigarettes and vaping. And you had, so the participants put together just a 5-minute presentation to judges, a speech basically on vaping and the dangers of using an e-pen or a vape pen. So it's a lot of, this one was it went by really fast, and it was another contest that takes everything that you've already learned in the project and puts it into a contest. So you're not having to do any additional work to participate in this. And so if we do have a trial run of this at district, I encourage everyone just to try it, because it's not going to hurt anything if you do terrible at it, but it'll give you the experience of seeing what it is. And as an adult that's kind of been around these events for a few years, I really, really wanted to get it. I wanted to do this one. I wanted a piece of paper. I wanted to go through and identify these things. I wanted to see if I could do it. And so I think the kids will really enjoy it so I hope this one gets started. So I wanted to put this one out there just so that they were aware of it. If they saw it, they would know what it was, but it is still one that is developing.
Well, and I think what you're saying, what you just said about this could really, food challenge might be a little different, because you kind of have to know what you're doing a lot more, because you're sitting there cooking in front of the judges. But the food show, all of these, don't feel like it has to be perfect when you're first getting into it. Go get feedback from the judges and just go give it a try.
Well, and
that's especially on the county level.
Yes. And even at the district level, if you're a new team or a new individual trying these contests, what's the worst that's going to happen if you do terrible? You do terrible. That's it. All you can do is go up. But the experience itself is worth so much, because you just can't understand the contest until you've actually gone through it. And once you've gone through it, you have so much more confidence, because you know what you're doing and you can build from it. So that, the first time, second time, third time, don't worry about not being first in the group. It's about developing your in addition to the things that the actual project teaches you, it's about developing yourself and improving on what you've every year you improve a little bit. And that's really what counts. I mean, I know we all like to take home a blue ribbon or a trophy, but it's really, it's good just to try it. And the more contests you try in the different ones, you'll be amazed at how much it will help you in other areas of your life, at school, if you have to speak in things. Just because, the one great thing that all of these contests incorporate is, except for food, the quiz bowl, but the other 3 really incorporate that speaking aspect, which I think we can all kind of vouch for. Once you've graduated college, you get a job, or if whatever. Once you get into a job and you're in your career, there's going to be a time where you have to speak to people. You have to talk in front of a group. You have to talk in front of a crowd. And having the experience that these contests and this project gives you really does give you a better starting point. And you kind of, you have a higher comfort level than a lot of others. So the page that I pulled up now, because I kind of got off track, is the resources. And then again, the Texas 4-H Food and Nutrition Project page has so much information. And I specifically, so the main page is that first bullet point, but then the second bullet point that I have there, the nutritional concepts PDF. If you're interested in this project or a project leader, I highly recommend this document as something that you give to each of your members and have in a binder, because this is something that they're going to refer back to when they write their speeches. And just the more familiar where they are with the information that's on that document, the better, because it's a very useful document. And then also MyPlate, the government's Choose My Plate website. Any of these contests, you're going to need to know the information on MyPlate, and that website is very, very user friendly. They've got little games to use. They've got little quizzes. They've got all kinds of things that you can explore to help with MyPlate. So if you're a project leader or the assistant, that website has some external things that you can trust outside of 4-H that can really help develop this and make it a full, well-rounded project and information for the kids. So if you have any questions, if you don't have them now, here's my contact information. You can send me an email. I'll be happy to answer anything that I can come up with. And other than that,
Now, do you know off the top of your head for 2021, 22, when is Food Challenge? When is Food Show?
so Food Challenge is, Food Challenge this year, because in the past it's been right along a week or two away from Roundup and some shooting sports. And so the agents that kind of worked on a variety of different projects, you were working like 5 or 6 weekends in a row, and kids were being gone 5 or 6 weekends in a row. And everyone knows, I mean, the spring just gets really busy. March, April, May, you get your time is very valuable. So we decided to move Food Challenge to a fall contest. And I know it's going to throw a few teams off this year, and hopefully they can get it together for this year or for next year, but we're going to try to keep this as a fall show. So let me get to my calendar. This year, it is the Food Challenge is tentatively scheduled for Friday, October 29th. So in about a month and a half. And Food Show is still a little bit up in the air as far as how we're planning on doing that. So Roundup is April 8th and 9th. But we are thinking on pulling Food Show out of that because it is such a large event. But I'm not exactly sure if that's 100% set yet or not.
So it will be in the spring for sure.
But it will be in the spring, yes. And it would be right around Roundup. And it may only be the seniors that are pulled out because of the cooking aspect and all of the different knowledge and skills tests that they need, because the facilities right now that we're able to get into have limited space. So pulling that out and doing it at a different facility just makes it easier all around for everyone. But I don't have the exact details on that yet. And then the quiz bowl will be with Roundup.
Danelle, are there any specific questions that you received as 4-H program assistant? Like, has anything not been answered that maybe you got questions about often for this project?
I don't think there was anything in this that hasn't been answered. I think that they need to know that they have other options other than just the Food Challenge group. And I think this will show them that.
And, and like I mentioned this earlier, I really recommend to those juniors that are just trying to get into the project, do the food show. It is a simple, easy to get into contest. It's not very stressful. You can get, so that's a really good intro project, and it helps kind of set that base for all of the other contests.
And I will add, there's not a date set yet, but in Hunt County for the spring contest, so everything that's at Roundup, the educational presentations, the public speaking, Share the Fun, food show, fashion show, those spring contests. In really late winter, early spring, we will start asking for who plans to participate in these contests. And if we have enough interest, which enough interest would just be 2 or 3 members even, we will host these contests locally for the kids to get practice. So definitely, if you read that in the newsletter and a child that's interested, you definitely need to call ahead and sign up, because we will not plan the whole event without knowing someone is choosing to participate.
And I will, like, for juniors that are entering this project and getting their kind of feet wet with the food show, you do not have to pick a difficult recipe. It can be an easy recipe, just like the example that I used of the youth that did green beans. It was just a steamed green beans that he had seasoned and presented. It was very, very simple. He was very comfortable with it. You could tell he made it. And it really, I think it built, it impressed the judges because it was a healthy item, but then it was also, he just had so much confidence in it. And so you do not have to have a difficult recipe to enter into this contest. You can have a fruit salad, mashed potatoes. You can have something that's simple for an 8 or 9-year-old to make.
Okay. I think this has been wonderful. Anybody else on have a question? Feel free to unmute and ask.
I just want to say thanks for putting this together, because this has been very informative. I've known about the food challenge for years, but I didn't realize all the other options. So thank you.
Good. Well, they're trying, they're trying to develop it and give other, like you said, other options to kids, so that they can, the more options that we have for contests, the more areas that kids can kind of explore things that they're interested in. So I think it's really good that they keep developing these.
And the neat thing about all of these activities in the Food and Nutrition Project, they all are connected and build on each other.
Yes, and that is really, it makes it easy to do multiple contests because you already have all the same information. Now, it is, if you look at the information pages, it could be overwhelming, and so don't let that push you away from it, because like I said, take those Explorer guides, build off that. They're truly a roadmap to this project.
Well, I appreciate everybody that got on, and Sarah, thank you for presenting for us. And to those of you who listen to this after the fact, when you watch the recording, please let us know if you have more questions or would like to start a project group. And so I think we'll stop recording now.
Okay. All right. Well, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.